Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Before I start, I miss all of you, each one of you. I miss bothering each one of my students, my kids, my daughters, my son. And today class, just to explain for you the homework, the complex numbers. The idea of the complex numbers came from the square root of -1. The square root of negative numbers or negative number. As you see on the board, the square root of -1 is I, which is mean I square equal to -1. The complex number is the largest group of numbers because any number can be written in the form of complex numbers. As we explained in the class before, I don't know if you still remember or no. The standard form for any complex numbers is Z equal A plus IB. As you see in the board, Z plus AIB. Where Z is the complex number itself. The complex number has two parts. The first part is the real part, which is A, and IB is the imaginary part. Some examples. We can write 5. 5 is a real number, right? But we can write it as a complex number. You can write 5 as 5 equal to 5 plus 0i. Or if you have 2i, you can write it as the formula for 0 plus 2i. In the first example, the imaginary part is 0, as you see. In the second part, the real part is 0. Because that we can write any imaginary number as well, any number as a combination of real and imaginary numbers. Let us see what we can do now with this group of numbers. Let us start with adding and subtracting numbers. The first example I have -3 minus 2i plus 5 plus 7i, as you see. What I did here, I add the real to the real. You see that? I add what? The real number to the real what? Number. -3 and 5 here. Also, you add what? The imaginary numbers to the imaginary numbers. -2i plus 7i, and the other part here. If you add -3 plus 5 is 2, -2 plus 7i, 5i. Another example, -5 plus 4i minus -2 minus 3i, -5 minus -2 plus 4i minus -3i. The two negative becomes positive. -5 plus 2 is -3. 4 plus 3 is 7i. This is for adding or subtracting. Let us go to multiplying. How we multiply a real number? You foil it. You foil it as you foil any polynomials. You see that? -3 minus 2i times 4 plus 3i. Remember always, I squared is equal to -1. Remember again, I squared equal to -1. You foil it, you can see how I foiled it. -3 times 4, -12. -3 times 3i, -9i. -2i times 4 is -8i. -2i times 3i, -6i squared. When I simplified it, look to the last part, which is I squared. I changed I squared to be -1. Then the last part becomes real part, which is -6 times -1 becomes 6 in the black. And the first part, -12. Combine the like terms, -12 plus 6 is -6. And combine the middle terms, -9i, -8i, give you -17i. Now we have the form of the complex number, -6 minus 17i. If anyone asks you what's A in SAT, A is -6 and B is -17. Let us keep going. Let's see what next. What next? What next? What next? What next? What next? Here's something new, which is what? Dividing. You see the divide? When he asks you to divide and you have a numerator and denominator, what you have to do always multiply by the conjugate. Remember this a law in SAT. This a law in SAT. They have a lot of questions about this in SAT. Simplify 3 minus 2i over I. What I did, I multiplied the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator, which is negative I. Let us go back a little bit. On the side of the board here, I give you some example. You see that? Some example on the side of the board. I give you some example about complex number and the conjugate. 3 minus 2i, the conjugate 3 plus 2i. Negative 2 plus 5i, the conjugate is negative 2 minus 5i. Okay, I think that's clear. And how you find the conjugate for any complex number. Let us back to the example. 3 minus 2i over I multiply negative I, and that gives me negative 3i only. Negative times negative is positive. 2i times I, 2i squared. Negative 3i plus 2 times negative 1. And in the denominator, I times negative I squared. And remember, I squared is negative 1. I replace it by negative 1. If you simplify the top, becomes negative 3i plus 2 over negative times negative in the denominator is 1. Then your answer 2 minus 3i. Again, A is 2 and B is negative 3. Let us keep going, see what the next example. Okay, another example. Simplify. Simplify what? 3 minus 2i over negative 2 minus 3i. Then you have to multiply by the conjugate. Conjugate of what? The denominator. Negative 2 plus 3i, negative 2 plus 3i. Okay. Fold the top. Negative 6 plus 9i plus 4i minus 6i squared. Fold the bottom. 4 minus 6i plus 6i minus 9i squared. In the denominator, quickly cancel plus 6i with negative 6i. In the top, negative 6. Combine the middle terms, 9i plus 4i, 13i. Also, don't forget to replace I squared by negative 1. I give it to you here. You see that? I squared is always equal to negative 1. Then, okay. Simplify, 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 then simplify. At the end, we have 13i in the top over 13. 13 over 13 is 1i. Another example to make the idea clear for you guys. 2 minus 3i over negative 3 plus 4i. What's my conjugate? Again, everyone gonna say negative 3 minus 4i, negative 3 minus 4i. Then now is algebra foiling. Foil it. 2 times negative 3, negative 6. 2 negative times negative 4, negative 8i. Negative 3, negative 3. What? Negative 9i. Negative 3 times negative 4, 12i squared. The denominator negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Negative 3 times negative 4 plus 12i. 4 times negative 4i times negative 3 negative plus negative 12i. 4 times negative 4i times negative 4i, negative 16i squared. Again, don't forget that I squared equal negative 1. Replace negative 1 where you anywhere you find I squared, you replace it by negative 1. Anywhere you find a squared, you replace it by negative 1. Okay, let us see what the end. Now just simplifying. Did you see here? We cancel these two terms because they are opposite. Plus 12i minus 2i, and we replace I squared by negative 1. That gives me 9 plus 16 in the denominator, and in the numerator I combine negative 8i, negative 9i, negative 17i. I replace I squared by negative 1. Now here I have negative 6, negative 12. They are both real parts. Then I have to combine them. Negative 6 minus 12 is negative 18 minus 17i. Now you have to write this step. You have to distribute the denominator. You cannot leave the answer like that. That's wrong answer. Negative 18 over 25 minus 17 over 25i. My real part, which is negative, which is 8. Negative 8 over 25. My imaginary part, negative 17 over 25. Thanks for listening, if you are listening. And waiting to see you soon, inshallah, and be safe. You and your family. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.